Okay, Madam Presiding Member, I'll make that 10 o'clock.
Thank you very much, Chris. Borodah, good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to this hybrid meeting of Council. This Council meeting is being broadcast live over the internet and will be available to view online now and in the future. We welcome the use of the Welsh language at meetings. I've had no request for people to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. Members in the Chamber, please be aware that we're all on camera and you may be visible on screen when people around you are speaking. And please remember to speak clearly into your microphones. Members participating remotely, can you please refrain from using the chat function and instead use the raised hand icon to indicate when you want to speak. Please remember to keep your microphones muted when you're not talking. May I remind members that as per statutory guidance made under Section 4 of the Local Government Wales Measure 2011 and our formally adopted hybrid meeting policy, any member attending a meeting remotely must be able to be seen and heard by members and officers who are attending the meeting, as well as by members of the public viewing the meeting. So can I ask you all please to use your cameras for the duration of this meeting. Moving on to the agenda. Agenda item 1, Democratic Services will be making a note of members' attendance in the meeting. But should you lose connection, could you possibly leave a comment in the chat bar on your return to ensure that this is picked up? Agenda item 2, apologies for absence. Dominique, have we any apologies, please?
I've had apologies from Councillors Mark Jones and Mandy Owen.
Thank you, Dom. Any further apologies from the floor? Thank you. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. Stella Harris, Monitoring Officer and Assistant Chief Legal Officer. Have you any advice for members, please?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. I'm not aware of any interest to be declared. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 4, confirmation of the Council minutes for the 22nd of July 2025, which start on page 5 of your agenda. Members, could you possibly state whether you have anything to raise in relation to the minutes? If not, I will take them as approved. Thank you. I'll take those as approved. Agenda item 5, update on actions. Members, the updates on what has been done to implement our previous decisions start on page 45 of the agenda. Could you possibly indicate whether you have any questions or comments? I ask members whether they agree to note the update on actions. Thank you, members. They are noted. Agenda item 6, the receipt of petitions. There are no petitions, so we'll move on to agenda item 7, public question time. There are no public questions today. We'll move on to agenda item 8, announcements from the leader. Leader, do you have any announcements, please?
Thank you, Presiding Member. Just 3 things I'd like to mention today in my announcements. First of all, about the Tour of Britain, which, as you'll know, came to Torfaen and Monmouthshire the weekend before last. A big thank you to the staff of the Council who went above and beyond to help deliver such a successful weekend in Wales for the Tour of Britain. Pontypool Park was packed for the start with a great atmosphere, as there was throughout the course and at the finish. So a big thank you to all the local people as well who made it such a special weekend. I had great feedback from the organisers, from the riders, and importantly from the fans who had travelled to see the race, including groups from as far afield as Belgium, who said they'd be back to visit our area. So that just goes to show the importance of such events and providing that positive image for the area. So thank you to everyone involved in that. Secondly, I'd just like to say a big thank you to everyone who came along to the farm, both at the weekend and at the members' event before. I look forward to the farm continuing to go from strength to strength, and it was great to see children enjoying their time at the farm especially. Thirdly, I'd like to mention the South East Wales Business Awards, which were held on the 7th of September, and I'd like to congratulate 3 local businesses run by women which won awards. Kate Hiscox of Botanical Possessions in Blenavon, who Councillor Jones mentioned to me, Lindsay Ford of LAF Designs, who won the Best Photographer category, and Emma Livings of Twinkling Toes. It just goes to show that there are really successful businesses in our borough that are being run, and congratulations to all those for their achievements.
Thank you, Leader. Chief Executive is witness. Deputy Chief Executive, have you got anything to report?
No announcements today. Thanks, Madam President Member.
Thank you very much. Takes us to agenda item 9, which is the annual scrutiny report 24-25, which starts on page 47 of your agenda. Tom Roberts, the Business and Democratic Services Support Services Manager, and Rebecca. Thank you. Could you deliver this report for us, please?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member, and good morning, members. The report presented to Council is your annual overview and scrutiny report. It is recommended good practice that all councils publish a summary of their scrutiny function each year to actively promote the role and value scrutiny has to both internal and external stakeholders. Primarily, the report provides an overview of the work you as members have carried out during the previous municipal year in scrutinising the council's work and holding the council's executive to account. The report belongs to the Council's 5 scrutiny chairs, so my introduction will be short before I hand over to the respective Council scrutiny committee chairs in the previous municipal year. I'd like to start by thanking Rebecca, who sat alongside me, who, as you know, manages the scrutiny function. She, along with Geraint Thomas in the scrutiny team, continue to oversee the development of the scrutiny function, including the annual report presented to Council today. Effective scrutiny is a key component of the Council's overall arrangements for robust governance and self-assessment. The document therefore provides assurances that appropriate checks and balances are in place through the robust implementation of our scrutiny function. The report gives a high-level view of the work that has been carried out alongside some key data on different aspects of your committee's work, including the amount of scrutiny that has taken place, the level of engagement undertaken, the recommendations made, and how those recommendations have been dealt with. Most importantly, the report considers within it the review the overall impact of the scrutiny process. We're committed to improving participation in the democratic process. As such, our key developments during the past year have focused on the areas of development within the development and adoption of public speaking protocol at scrutiny, the development of a democracy hub. Both have been developed with the intention of strengthening the scale of public engagement in scrutiny. As well as being key improvements for the previous year, their further development will continue to be prioritised in 25-26 as we aim to promote awareness in order to deliver greater engagement in the scrutiny process. We hope this will lead to greater public engagement in suggesting ideas for scrutiny, proposing questions for committees to ask, and ultimately for members of the public to attend scrutiny to ask their questions and put forward evidence to committees in person. Finally, within the report, each committee has their own review section, setting out the work they have carried out, including a statement from the respective chairs. That feels like a good point to hand back to the chair, and I understand the chairs of scrutiny wish to say a few words in support of the report.
Thank you, Tom. Shall I kick off? I'm pleased to present the annual report for the Education Overview and Scrutiny Committee for 24-25. Over the past year, our committee has scrutinised a wide range of important areas, including additional learning needs, the Education Achievement Service Business Plan, the Digital Strategy, the Welsh in Education Strategic Plan, and Sustainable Communities for Learning programme, covering school maintenance and rebuild projects. We've also undertaken school visits, which have given us valuable insight into the experiences of learners, staff and governors. I want to take this opportunity to thank our staff, parents, governors and members of the public who have contributed to their views and expertise to our work. Their input has been essential in helping us shape recommendations that strengthen education across Torfaen. Looking forward to our priorities include continuing to support learners with additional learning needs, ensuring effective delivery of the digital learning, promoting the Welsh language, and maintaining a focus on safe, sustainable school environments. On behalf of the committee, I thank members for their ongoing support and engagement, and I commend this report to Council. Thank you. Are there any other chairs that wish to speak? No?
Yes.
Oh. Councillor Stewart Ashley?
Yeah, sorry, so I'm not fast on this thing at the moment. Yes, thank you. I'd like to talk on behalf of the Environment, sorry, I can get in, the Finance and Environment Committee. I'm going to get it right because it's a new committee and I don't get the name of it right half the time. Had a hell of a lot of work done in this committee, and I commend the hard-working staff that set us the reports. Huge range of subjects in the that we tackled. You can read about it in the report, but we'll go down the 5 subjects to give you an idea of what we tackled, which was waste enforcement, green space management, asset management strategy, recycling strategy, and highway asset management plan. All of them good reports in the main put in by officers, and reminding you that scrutiny needs huge input by members and staff to get good scrutiny out, and the main these were really good reports. Obviously some of the subjects are internal and some external. Asset management strategy does stand out in my mind as a subject that we learned a heck of a lot about, which is obviously how we manage the estate. And highway asset management plan was one that's obviously there's a lot of public interest in, and the one that the environmental interest in stuff like green space management. Anyway, as probably most members are aware, I'm stood down as chair after about 12 years. I didn't realise it was that long I was chair for. But and I commend Linda in the role. I'm pretty certain she'll be good at this job, but no, she will. And I would like to commend the report and the as I said before about the staff. We're always 100% on this. Thank you very much for supporting me all the time I've been chair. And thank you, members, for taking part, because without you, scrutiny can't happen. I always regard it as collegiate activity, and I've certainly not given up on scrutiny, as it says in the bottom of the report.
Thank you, Councillor
enjoy scrutiny. Yeah, I was just about to finish, Chair.
Sorry.
And, it's good that we do scrutiny. Thank you very much indeed. I commend the report.
Thank you. Leader, you'd like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. Just 2 points, really. Sorry.
Carry on.
Sorry, okay, I was momentarily nonplussed there. So just to say, firstly, that it was very helpful, I think, that we had some engagement with young people, and I commend that for our forward scrutiny process. And we also had, obviously, a very good talk from a young person at our last council meeting, so I'd like to see more of that. And secondly, just to encourage all members, because we, if you like, the backbenchers are the scrutiny for cross-cutting. If there are topics and subjects that you feel are appropriate for scrutiny, then do highlight those, because that's part of that keeping things to account. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Hunt.
Thanks, Presiding Member. I would like to thank all involved in scrutiny over this year. I know it's easy for leaders to be wary of scrutiny, because at the end of the day it's to hold us to account, but I do value the role that you play, and I think it's fundamental to what we do and how we can continually work to do it better. So a big thank you to all the members, especially the chairs, for their contributions on scrutiny committees. I know it can often be difficult to dedicate the time, because you've all got busy lives and roles to play as local councillors too, but I do value the contributions that you make. Just to give 2 examples, I think the contribution of the Education Scrutiny Committee to our improvement journey over the last 3 to 4 years is something that both myself and Councillor Clark as the Executive Member and Deputy Leader would very much value. The way that you've got in there and visited schools and also scrutinised officers and members with plans, I think has been valued and has led to improvement. So I guess in the past, one of the criticisms that was made of scrutiny was that it was after the event. That's one example of showing very much that it's now something that we try and build into our decision-making process so that you can have your say and hold decisions to account when there's still a chance to make changes. Secondly, the other example would be the Finance Committee over the years with the budget and how we've tried to build in more pre-scrutiny to our budget process. I think that's always a an iterative process, something that can always be improved. But I've certainly valued the contributions that members have made over the years to try and grapple with the resource dilemmas that we always have as a council. So I very much value the role that scrutiny's played in that. And I'd just like to close by paying tribute to Councillor Ashley as an outgoing chair. 12 years of service is really quite something as a scrutiny committee chair. And Stuart, someone whose insights I've always valued. He's always got something unique to say about an issue. He never just says what everyone else is saying. He always tries to think of something different to say and has a unique perspective that I've certainly valued over the years. And the other thing, of course, that I value about Councillor Ashley is his passion, especially around issues like sustainability and around neurodiversity. I think he's brought a lot to his role as a committee chair, as he brings a lot to his role as a councillor and will continue to do so. So thank you, Stuart, for your service.
Thank you, Leader. Any other members wish to speak? No? Oh, Councillor Watkins.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question about the report. Under the section, how much engagement does scrutiny achieve? The average member attendance is down year on year, and you have made mention of that. And you've also made mention of how you've tried to improve that and get that percentage back up. But unfortunately, changing the times of the meetings didn't improve it. Is this something that you're still going to look at?
I mean, we continue to look for ideas and suggestions whereby we can improve attendance at meetings. Like you said, we've tried changing the times of meetings to perhaps suit different members. It didn't have the desired impact. There's only so much we can do as officers. You know, as I've got the stand, I'll implore all members to try and prioritise attendance at scrutiny meetings. If there's any extra support that we can provide, please let us know. But yeah, it's vitally important to have that democratic engagement. You are representing your communities, and so yeah, please do attend, and we're open to all suggestions.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Councillor Watkins. Councillor Lucy Williams.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. I'm not the chair of the Children and Young Families Scrutiny Committee. I'm one of the members. My colleague Alan Slade is the chair, but I'd like to highlight one positive thing, I think, with the Children and Young Families and the Education Committee, and those opportunities where we've actually had joint scrutiny committees, because there's a lot of overlap between those two scrutinies, and that works really well. And I can see that there's potential for those kind of joint scrutinies to be very positive. So, you know, potential for that to develop over the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any further comments? That takes us to the recommendations, which are on page 4. Oh, sorry. Councillor Colette Thomas.
Just like to say, Chair, can we give a special thanks to the staff for arranging these site meetings that we've had. We've had a lot of very interesting meetings to our schools, and I look forward to continuing next year. Thank you.
Absolutely, I think we all echo that. We've had some, yeah. Leader?
I'd just like to echo that, and also Councillor Williams' point about cross-cutting scrutiny and how scrutiny committees can work together at the next council. And of course, in other meetings, we're discussing things like the deal, and I'll work on Marmot. I'll work on, you know, our links with the communities, and that's certainly something I think scrutiny could play a part in making sure that we're getting right.
Thank you very much. The recommendations are on page 48 of your report. Can I ask members whether they agree with the recommendations? The recommendation is to note the annual scrutiny report. Thank you. Are there any members against the recommendations? Are there any members who would like to abstain? Thank you, members. That report is carried. Takes us to agenda item 10. Thank you, Tom and Rebecca. Agenda item 10, amendments to contract procedure rules, contract standing orders, which starts on page 93 of your agenda. Jason Lewis, the Director of Corporate Services, could you deliver this report for us, please?
Thanks, Madam Presiding Member. Short report for you today, members. Good morning. You'll recall I brought a new set of contract procedure rules to this meeting on the 10th of June. They were necessary as a result of quite a significant change in procurement legislation. This report today is making a proposal for an amendment to those contract procedure rules, which incorporates some delegated arrangements for awarding contracts specifically on behalf of schools. There's no other proposed changes made to the contract procedure rules that you agreed in June. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Any members wishing to comment? Don't see any. That's the recommendation start on page 94 of the report. Can I ask members whether you agree with the recommendation? Thank you. Are there any members against that recommendation? And any abstentions? Thank you, Jason. That report is carried. Agenda item 11, petition report for the request of traffic calming measures on James Street, Glenavon, which is on page 123 of the agenda. Michelle Mitchell, Head of Service, Highways and Transportation, could you deliver this report for us, please? Welcome. I don't think we've seen you at Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member, and good morning, members. This report has been produced following a petition presented to full Council by Councillor Hawler on the 10th of June 2025. The petition requested traffic calming measures on Old James Street, Glenavon, and following this request, an evidence-based assessment has been carried out. Collision data collected by the police has been reviewed over the last 5-year period, and traffic speed and volume surveys have been carried out to assess vehicle behaviour between the 3rd and 10th of July. Factors considered as part of this assessment are based on national criteria which is used by police and the Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents. This criteria includes collision history, casualty data and the 85th percentile of vehicular speed. I can confirm that no collisions or casualties have been recorded in the past 5 years at Old James Street, and 85% of people were travelling within the recommended speed, which was 21 miles per hour. And the average speed throughout the course of the week was 17 miles per hour. Collision history, casualty data, and the 85th percentile speed are industry standards which are used nationally to inform the need for traffic calming interventions. Deemed the recent findings for Old James Street, no physical measures would be deemed necessary at this time. Therefore, it is recommended that no action is taken. However, we will continue to monitor Old James Street as part of the routine traffic management programme, and the lead petitioner will be contacted with the findings of this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Any members wishing to speak? Councillor Hawler.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. On behalf of all the ward members in Glenavon, we'd like to thank you for conducting this comprehensive report for the petition raised by the residents of New James Street. In view of the findings in this petition, we sincerely ask that you continue to do routine traffic management programme to assess the situation that residents highlighted within this petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hawler. Any others wishing to speak? Leader?
Yeah, I'd just like to ask for some more detail on the monitoring plans. How can we continue to monitor? Because it's often an issue, isn't it, that we find in wards as ward councillors that, quite rightly, we have to go with the data. But when there's a concern about what could happen as opposed to what has happened, how can we sort of make sure we continue to monitor the speed so that any action that we can take, we take before something happens rather than after it?
Thanks, Leader. Our plan is to carry out some speed data monitoring within 3 months so that we can compare with the data we've already collected. And in terms of collision history, that data is reviewed annually, but obviously as any collisions happen, obviously we have that dialogue with police at that time. So we will continue to do that.
Thank you, Michelle. Don't see any other hands wishing to speak. The recommendations are on page 125. Of the...
Madam President, members, apologies. I've got Councillor Ashley online.
Oh, apologies.
Yeah, just a general question, because it's a question that's often asked of councillors about what's called perceived speed. It's a question being asked at certain streets in our ward, and I just wonder what Michelle, whether she gets this question asked of, because it's a rightly observed thing that a lot of places people think streets are dangerous, and obviously when you get to the data, how do you deal with that, please? Perception of speed over actuality is the question.
Thanks, Councillor Ashley. As mentioned, obviously the national standards, we use the 85th percentile speed, but what we are able to do is interrogate the data further. So in this instance, we have actually done that. We've actually looked at what 95% of the travelling public are actually, what speed they're driving at. And this was actually 23 miles per hour in this incident. So, yeah, like you say, we can look at that data further to further evidence what our decision is.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just thank you very much, because it's a question I often get asked, and it is useful to have an answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ashley. Thank you, Councillor Michelle. Councillor Daniels.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I can appreciate the, there's an awful lot of data that's gone into this, and obviously we have to act on the data. But, I mean, residents have obviously come to us with concerns about their road. How do they help us understand what their concerns are? How do they help us, how do they help illustrate the concerns that they've got in a way which, as Anthony's referred to, preempts an accident rather than has one in retrospect?
So, thanks, Councillor Daniels. I think, again, that's about our community engagement work that the leader has alluded to previously throughout this meeting. I think that is an exercise for us, and that's certainly something, we would welcome with the residents to go out into the community and help with any engagement work that we possibly can do.
Thank you. Councillor Nick Horler, or Councillor Janet Jones, is it?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. The concern on the street was not only about people driving down the street at speeds that has been analysed, but it was the welfare of local animals that live in the street that have been killed. Although they're not humans, they are animals that have been killed recently, and my concern is the long-term effect for those residents that have animals on the street. Is there anything that we can implement to aid the situation? Whilst I agree that the residents have to look after their animals, sometimes those animals do go onto the streets. And one of the reasons that this petition was raised in the first place was the animal welfare in this area. Is there anything that council can look into to help those residents, please? Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Horler. Yes, it's certainly a valid question, but unfortunately the national standards that we base any decisions on are relating to human injury rather than animal injury. But that's certainly something we can pick up as part of a community engagement session.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Janet Jones.
Member, you said that you're going to monitor the situation now over the next 3 months. Can you come back to us and give us an up-to-date, whether in full council or just to ward members, please?
Thanks, Councillor Jones. We can certainly come back to you as ward members with the updated information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Leader, did you want to come back in?
Yeah, that would be very welcome, because not only on the specifics of this, but on the generalities, this sort of highlights the tension, isn't there, by people's wish to use their cars with the need for consideration where people live and where people try to live their lives and the safety of people around it. So I think that report will be welcomed back, and just anything we can do to try and get that balance right, I think would be very welcome.
Thank you. And thank you, Michelle. Okay. The recommendations are on page 125 of the report. Can I ask members whether they agree with these recommendations, please? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you. That report is carried. Takes us to agenda item 12, motions on notice. There are no motions on notice, so we move on to the agenda item 13, which is member question time. There are 3 questions for today. And the first question is for Councillor Janet Jones, and the question is asked of Councillor David Daniels.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Just over a year ago, we were facing the fact that the Arthur Jenkins home was due to close. Much distress and anger was followed by much hard work by officers to support the residents and their families. In December of last year, a new owner took over the running of the home, and all seemed well until recently. We now learn that there are significant serious issues at the home. Could the executive member responsible clarify for members, residents, families and staff what are the significant concerns, what course of action is being taken, and what are the expected results of this action?
Councillor Daniels.
Thanks, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Jones, and thank you also to the 3 ward members for their engagement on this. As was the case last time, you've been incredibly supportive, incredibly understanding, and it's this time, I mean, it is an incredibly difficult situation. So you've dealt with it very constructively, but also, you know, on behalf of your residents, you've echoed their concerns and questions. So I'm going to stick to a script because I've had to check this by Gwent Police and CIW, which will become obvious why in my answer. So as you rightly mentioned, just over a year ago we were facing the prospect of closure of Arthur Jenkins. However, this was for very different reasons. The previous provider had made the decision to close the home. Following a routine inspection by Care Inspectorate Wales CIW for the rest of the answer, in May 2025, 4 priority action notices, PANs, were issued due to concerns about the quality of care being provided. At this point, CIW varied the registration of the home to prevent any new residents from being admitted to the home, something that has remained in place since May, and the Council commenced the escalating concerns process. As part of the escalating concerns process, officers have provided significant support to the home to make improvements against priority action notices issued following the inspection. At this point, I want to be clear that the responsibility to make improvements against those notices rests with the management of the home. Despite this report, limited progress has sadly not been made in addressing these concerns. A subsequent inspection in August 2025 identified further serious concerns, resulting in additional PANs, priority action notices, and 2 improvement notices. Significant concerns include the overall quality of care and the support being provided to residents and the risks to the well-being and safety of individuals living at the home. As part of the multi-agency response to the concerns raised, Gwent Police were notified and launched an investigation to establish whether any criminal offences had been committed. The investigation is still at an early stage, and whilst I completely understand that residents, their loved ones, staff need information and ultimately reassurances, I am unable to comment on the details of this live police investigation. The Council has established a regular presence at the home to support residents and staff, with officers attending the home daily, 7 days a week. Torvine and Blaenau Gwent's management teams, along with healthcare colleagues, are reviewing each resident's individual needs. The Council has a statutory duty to safeguard residents, and it's not currently assured that Arthur Jenkins is a safe service. Therefore, we're working with residents and their families to identify alternative accommodation that meet their needs. The service provider has been given 28 days by CIW, Care Inspectorate Wales, to address these serious concerns raised, and after these 28 days, CIW will go back to re-inspect. It will be the decision of CIW as the regulator what steps are taken next. We do not have the power to close homes as a council. CIW do. If sufficient improvements are not made within the specified period, options include extending the notice or removing the service from registration. However, we cannot preempt any decisions that they may make. Our priority, as it was last year, must remain on the safety and well-being of residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Daniel.
Can I come back in, please, Chair?
Yes.
This is a really delicate situation, but Nick and I would like to thank all our officers and staff for the support they've given to us in our consultations and to the people in the home, and we commend you for that. And let's hope that we get, well, a good result. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Jones.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Jones, you have the next question to Councillor Sue Morgan, Executive Member, Waste and Sustainability.
Yes, I do. Councillor Morgan, I understand why the new criteria has been introduced for residents attending the new site, but I'm concerned on behalf of residents that not everyone will carry ID with them, which could result in access being refused. In order to avoid possible issues, could consideration be given to issue passes to our residents which they could keep in their car, or introduce a similar system, ANPR? However, I'm aware that that's really expensive.
Councillor Sue Morgan.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Jones. The introduction of ID checks was really carefully considered before we introduced it. And while we already have ANPR number plate recognition at the site to monitor traffic flow, we are unfortunately unable to link into the DVLA database to check people's addresses in this way. So the verification requirement wouldn't be met, unfortunately, from that system. Permit systems were also considered, and they have been trialled by local authorities such as Monmouthshire. However, no Welsh authority now operates permits due to the difficulties and the costs associated with administering a permit system. Indeed, all Welsh authorities have instead opted for ID checks and/or a booking system. All local authorities now reserve the right to ask for ID, and 12 of the 22 also have a booking system. As you know, we don't have a booking system, but in Torfaen, our ID checks came into effect on the 1st of September, and all the feedback suggests that they're working well, with the majority of residents being able to present identification when asked. We will, of course, continue to monitor the situation in order to ensure the system's effective and to work with any residents who are experiencing any difficulties with the approach.
Thank you, that's really good to hear. So if I do have residents come to me with experiences, I'll certainly come to you and ask for updates. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Jones. Third question is Councillor Liam Cowles.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. The decision of Torfaen Council to initiate the process of offering alternative care provision as a result of CIW inspections in May and August this year has again caused residents of the Arthur Jenkins Care Home in my ward anxiety and uncertainty. What assurances can the Executive Member give that Torfaen Council are doing all they can to assist residents through this extremely difficult time? And what are the next steps in this process, given that many residents of the home have elected to remain in the home? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Daniels.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks also, Councillor Cowles. I mean, as with my previous answer, I'm going to stick very rigidly to the answer I've got written. So all family members have been contacted and offered the opportunity to meet with the team leader and assistant team leader of the North Torfaen Wellbeing Team. All family members have had their contact details and those of the individual social workers and have been encouraged to make contact when needed. Social workers are supporting individual residents throughout this period. Social work support has been offered to all residents, including residents who are self-funding their stay at Arthur Jenkins. Those who wish to consider a move from Arthur Jenkins at this stage have been provided with information, guidance and support to assist their decision. Social workers have made the necessary arrangements for residents to transfer safely and continue to monitor their wellbeing closely following the move. For those residents who've chosen to remain at Arthur Jenkins until the outcome of the next CIW Care Inspectorate Wales inspection, information and advice has been provided, and we must respect their right to take an informed decision. This includes the risks associated with choosing to remain should a move to another care home eventually be required. Family members and residents understand that this may reduce their choice of alternative care home and the opportunity to move in a more planned way. But as an approach the Council is taking, it's one of respect for them taking an informed decision, so difficult as that may be.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. Thank you. Councillor Daniels.
Thank you, Councillor Coles. Councillor Daniels. That concludes the members' questions. Takes us to agenda item 40, which is the Cabinet decisions of the 2nd of September 2025. Cabinet decisions start on page 129 and are for the Council to note. There are no challenges to any of the decisions. Are there any members wishing to comment? No? Thank you. I ask members whether they agree with the recommendations to note the Cabinet minutes. Thank you. Are there any members against those recommendations? Any abstentions? Thank you. We agree to note those Cabinet minutes. Date and time of the next meeting. For your information, members, the next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, the 28th of October 2025 at 10 a.m. Can I thank members for attending the meeting this morning and have a good day. Meeting is closed.